Welcome back and thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Now we want to dive into a conversation as I mentioned earlier. It's all about the Mount Kenya Region Development Tour. It is day 3 and a lot has happened. A lot of goodies have equally reached the people of Mount Kenya Region, and that's what we want to analyze. Where are we at and what does this mean? What is the tour supposed to reflect in terms of political undertones that we're seeing being witnessed in the development tour? And joining me for this particular conversation is Kennedy Ondiek, Chairman, Progress Plus Alliance. Good evening and thank you, sir, for making time to join us here on KTN Prime.
Thank you, Ashley.
Now, before we even get to the Mount Kenya Region tour and discuss the issues that are coming out from that, just today you were at an opposition function where there was a relaunch, I believe, and coincidentally, that is exactly what we were asking on our BQ. So let's start with that. I mean, you're planning to form a formidable opposition. And we asked our viewers, is the opposition capable of presenting one candidate to face off against President Ruto? Perhaps you can answer it.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, thank you for having me on the set. Today we had a very important function where one of our friends' parties, that is the opposition party, DNA was relaunching with the Noti as the party leader, the Secretary General Barack Muluka. I know you know him very well as the Secretary General. So today marked the birth or a rebirth of one of the opposition parties. I was personally present as the chairman of the PA, together with my party leader, Arnold Maliba. We were with other party leaders, Kalonzo Musyoka, we had Eugene Wamalwa, we had Ruben Kigame, we had several others who came. We had different leaders who came. We had Mingo Magara and the rest. The purpose was to let all of us be a community, be a group, because the Constitution of Kenya at Article 38 does provide for pluralism. That is the existence of many political parties, and it gives freedom to each and every Kenyan to participate or take part in or campaign for any particular political party they choose. So Kenyans fought for multipartyism, and there's a reason why they did so. The amendment of Section 2A was very important to allow as many parties as possible. So today, we were supporting our friends to usher the new party, purpose of which we are trying to position each and every person capable of marshalling any support towards the 2027 elections. Because as a country, we have numerous, in fact, myriads of challenges, which if we don't focus well, then they might continue to 2032 if we are not well placed to replace President William Ruto. In that place, my party leader did indicate that we are some people who have been inside government. And he said that if an alligator comes out of water and tells you that the crocodile is dead, don't doubt it. In fact, we believed in the better plan. I am somebody who came here, I think we were Jesse and some of us, when I was defending this better plan. I came here telling people that SHA could work. But whenever we left the studio, we could go back home and we were asked by those who heard us talking about it, they said, no, I was in the hospital yesterday, that SHA is not working. University students, some who are my students, I used to be a teacher before I became a politician and a lawyer. Some of my students are at the university. They could call me, that thing is not working. The university model is just terrible because it is discriminative, contrary to Article 27 of the Constitution, and so many such things. And even when we looked at different aspects which government was trying, in fact, I want to tell you in totality before we get into major topic, this is a government that cannot be allowed to continue past 2027. And so, having a united opposition is the ultimate goal. In fact, it's going to be the replica of 2002, where we had NAC versus KANU. And we are going to have that. And when I heard somebody rebutting and saying that having William Ruto as the agenda, being the agenda of the opposition, in fact, I had one listener saying, we are not having William Ruto as the agenda. We have agenda of Kenya. We have agenda of ensuring that processes and programs work for the country. But the only problem is that Ruto must be our agenda because he's the one who is in the middle at the helm of failure. So if he's the failure, we have to address him perpendicularly without any fear of anything.
I get what you're saying, but equally President William Ruto actually mentioned during this particular tour that the opposition does not have policies. Or Sarah, if I may use his words.
Does he have any policies? Because the policies he has have failed. He had a better plan which has not worked. He had hustler initiatives which are not. In fact, the president started by baptizing youths as young people. He called them border operators. In fact, some of them he called mamambogas. But immediately he got into power, they became mashietani. And the other day, you had Murkomen saying that these people who are even talking to say what the government is doing bad are drug addicts. Did you hear that? So if the minister of a government comes out and tells us that the young people who are suffering, who are jobless, who are writing on social media, who are complaining about the situation of the country are drug addicts, are spoiled by alcohol, what does that tell you about the position of the government? Is that the government doesn't consider the youths. And that is why I want to tell you, even today as we speak, a youth who was injured on 25th June last year is called Eliud Mwangi. Eliud Mwangi was injured, was a Gen Z demonstrator who was injured last year, and he died in the hospital. And in fact, even as I speak, the government has refused to release the body to the parents to go and bury. It means that they don't treat this. In fact, they believe that a drug addict was killed, so they don't even care about what is happening, the pain the family is going through in Kirinyaga, because they want their child to marry. They have not, the police have refused to release the body. And I want to ask the police, why have they refused to? Because they know they don't want to conduct postmortem because the body has got bullet wounds. So they don't want those bullet wounds to be known. So that is what it is. That group, that gang that was kidnapping is the gang that killed that gang with the president said he knows the gang. Okay. And he has refused to deal with them.
All right, so as opposition, how do you plan on balancing interests? Because you are different parties coming together for one particular reason. How do you plan on balancing those interests of different parties and self-interests?
In law, we say vox populi, vox dei. When you listen to the voice of the people, it means you are listening to the voice of God. The opposition understands the situation of the country, and we know that the main target, we might have different interests, because your interest, my interest, and the other person's interest must be different, because we are people who are inherently different. Okay. But the truth is, the common interest we have today as a country is to ensure that William Ruto and his henchmen go home, together with the latest sympathizers. So we don't want to care who is going to be in the place of the president. Okay. And who is going to be his advisor. Because you see, he doesn't have advisors, because he said some people are incompetent, and the same people who are incompetent, he made them his advisors. And so, Jofar Ali and generally is a very incompetent president. So we need a competent person who knows where we are going to. And as opposition, we are galvanizing, we are balkanizing, we are mobilizing. In fact, we are strategizing to ensure that William Ruto goes home, and we have a lot of structures we are going to put in place to ensure that these things work. For example, for us, we don't need SHA if we can't deal with corruption. The only thing we need is, even NHIF was just good, we only needed to deal with corruption. This is a government which talks about fighting corruption, and they are corrupt. And I always say, if corruption is being done by the government, how do you fight what you are the one who is doing? Simply stop corruption. Okay. Simple.
All right, we'll get back to this particular conversation, but I want us to now talk about the Mount Kenya region. And of course, it is day 3, but before we even get to it, let's just listen to what President William Ruto said during the tour.
Urafiki yangu na watu wa Kirinyaga, urafiki yangu na watu wa Mlimani hapa, haijaanza jana. Ni urafiki wa miaka nyingi. Ni urafiki ambayo tumejenga kwa miradi na mipango ya maendeleo. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Na mimi siwezi kukubali ati mtu mmoja na fitina na ukabila na chuki akuja anitenganishe na watu wa Kirinyaga ama watu wa Mlima Kenya. Hiyo haiwezekani. Mimi nauliza nyinyi, hii serikali tumeunda. Si mimi nimeunda hii serikali na kura zenu? Si nimeunda hii serikali na kura zenu? Kwani mnafikiri mimi ni wazimu nisahau ya kwamba niliunda hii serikali na kura zenu? Ama mimi ni mlevi? Ama mimi ni mgonjwa? I know what I am doing. Na mimi nataka niwaambie mambo ya Kirinyaga hii isipoenda vizuri, mimi ndio nitaulizwa, kwa sababu mlinipatia kura zenu, mkanipatia imani yenu, na lazima niwafanyie kazi.
All right, that is President William Ruto. And of course, he's been saying that no one can come between him and the Mount Kenya region, and the fact that he doesn't need brokers to get to Mount Kenya. Looking at the development tour and what was expected, and now we're seeing crowds coming to his, call. And whenever he speaks, there are crowds and people there. Let's talk about that. Is this a clear assessment of the political outlook?
The problem we have with our president, and I wish this one should go straight to him, together with the persons who are advising him. One, do you work for the people by hanging on top of the vehicles on daily basis? How is he serving people by hanging on? Is he campaigning? What is doing? Is he campaigning or working? Because from what you can see, he is not working. He is campaigning. So, is he campaigning or working? The first thing I want to tell you, first Mount Kenya people have decided. And you even saw Governor from Nyeri joined him yesterday, and today, what has he said? Did you cover what he said today? He just said that he is a kingpin of Kenya, but he's not a kingpin of Mount Kenya, and that their position has not changed. What is their position? Ruto must go. And that is a simple position they have.
Okay.
So that is what the Nyeri governor simply told us. But he was there with him. And now let me tell you, I have campaigned in Central Kenya when I was with Raila Odinga. We campaigned for him. Those crowds are always the way you see them, but they don't translate into votes. What I'm very sure of is that those crowds went to collect money as they were told, and in fact they collected it. We saw them collecting. I hope that I'm not lying. We saw videos of them collecting, and they have confirmed through the governor that actually they received the gifts, and they want the president to come more so that they can receive some gift. The thing is, the president is going to find it very difficult, even to visit another place, because even when he goes to another region, they will say, give us first, just like you gave the central people. So this is the problem we are saying. The government with a president who is ever on a campaign mode is not a government that is working. That is a failed government. What I would tell the president, if I was the president, I would simply sit in State House, call my ministers responsible for every sector. The problem is that he has reshuffled everyone. In fact, there are some ministries who have had 4 ministers, so you don't even know who is responsible for what. If there is corruption, you don't know who is to take responsibility, because a minister should take responsibility. But a case where within 2.5 years you have 4 ministers in one ministry, so who will take which responsibility? Now, like Shah, there's a lot of theft. Is it Duale who is going to take responsibility, or that other girl?
Let's not get
to
Shah and other issues.
Let's
just stick to the Mount Kenya issue, sir, and because this. Others are saying this has sort of, it wasn't expected, because a hostile, reception was what was expected. So then, has this trip crushed Gachagwa's influence from where you see it?
No. I can tell you this. People were receiving the president. As a country, we respect the presidency. And in fact, even the governor for Nyeri said he went there because of respect of the presidency, not the president.
But Maragwa, member of parliament, who is this Mary Wambua, decamped from Rigath's side and went and joined President William Ruto's side.
Let me tell you, the president has remained with very few people from Central Kenya. And so, if somebody wants opportunity like Ruku, maybe she has decamped, maybe she can be given a position, because you see, there are very few people from Central now the president can appoint. So maybe she's positioning herself, maybe she can be appointed something, because everybody has left. Yeah, even Kabogo tried to explain. In fact, people are just like, what is wrong with this person?
All
so
right.
I can tell you the truth, that the Central Kenya visit was, number 1, a failure. Number 2, a confirmation that this is a failed system, and a true confirmation that President William Ruto is a pathological liar, because he started the trip with a televised interview, which in itself 90% was absolute lie. So you lie openly looking at Kenyans, and so we talk about yendi alisema sijui nani mgonjwa. In fact, yendi mgonjwa. Our president should be taken for proper examination. to be checked
But
whether
no, you cannot say such things. Let's just maintain decorum, sir, and talk about the issues instead of insulting the president. Let's just give him his respect.
No, but he said, kuna watu wagonjwa. I don't know whether you heard the clip.
We do not have it at this particular point. So let's just talk about the issues that, you know, instead of calling names. It's okay. Let's just talk about other issues because there's no one on his side to defend him.
They have run away. We have to defend him. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about other issues and go to the Deputy President, that is Professor Kithure Kindiki. And he did sort of embrace the Mr. Yes tag. Let's just listen into what he had to say.
Watu wameanza ati kuongea mambo ya kejeli, ati wananiita ati Mr. Yes Man. Si umesikia hiyo? Si umesikia watu wa madharau wakiniita Mr. Yes Man? Huyu William Ruto, huyu rais wetu, kwa miaka 10 alikuwa Mr. Yes Man wa Uhuru Kenyatta. Si namna hiyo? Si namna hiyo? Kwa hivyo mimi sio mjinga, najua vile nafanya. Ni lazima ukuwe mtiifu kwa rais, ndio kazi ya wananchi ikuwe rais. Ni namna hiyo.
So that is the Deputy President, and you never outshine the master. But let's look at the political implications.
Yeah,
are they negative or positive?
I have to first applaud him for accepting to be yes master or yes person, because that is the only job he has. Basically, the Deputy President's role is to deputize the President. And in fact, President William Ruto said it very well during his interview, that the duty of a Deputy President is to deputize the President. So the best thing you can do is to accept what the President has said if you feel that you can't oppose it. And that is, if you are told, stand up, you say yes, sir. And when you all sit down, you say yes, sir, because that's all you have. Until you are assigned a duty, and when you are told to go and look at this particular thing, you say yes, sir, you go and look at it on behalf of the President. So I want to support Kithure Kindiki for accepting his role and remaining there. The next thing I also want to say about that whole particular sentiment is that as a country, we need also to reevaluate the Deputy President job. In fact, when we were talking about Gachagua, we needed to know what are the limits. You cannot put a person who has such power or such powerful office, and then you give him nothing, no job, only waiting for maybe assignments to be done. I think it's high time we had a Deputy President with specific roles, Deputy Governor with specific role. But that one would require serious relooking into the Constitution of Kenya. But finally, in respect to Kindiki, he has showed that he can be a yes man. So let us give him the benefit of doubt. That's all the president wants, so that they can continue working up to the end of this term, because we are sure they are not going to continue past that. We need to have persons who are, if you are a deputy, you can be given a certain duty. Like Gachagua was given duty of fighting illicit brew. He was very busy fighting illicit brew. And that's why maybe sometimes occasionally you could forget, because illicit brew he was mostly dealing with in the Mount Kenya region. So personally I want to say, Kindiki is okay, and let him just keep his job. In fact, hapo ukisema ngwe, unafukuzwa, you know. So he cannot go beyond the bounds. Otherwise fukuzwa.
All right, let's talk about another issue that we equally saw during this Mount Kenya development tour, and that is the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, addressing residents of the Mount Kenya region. And LSK is now calling for his resignation or public apology. Coincidentally, this is coming just a few days after we saw the Chief of Defense Forces together with the NIS boss come out and warn public against using the Ruto must go chants. Let's talk about it. Is it being impartial? Is it unconstitutional as the Law Society of Kenya claims it?
You know, there are certain positions which if you hold, they come with particular decorum, or they come with particular level of engagement. You're not supposed to just engage simply because you have found where to engage. I think Kanja made a terrible mistake. There's a stage where you can't address people. In fact, as a discipline force, there is procedure. There is how they are supposed to conduct themselves so that they don't overstep their bounds, and also they don't interfere or they don't instill fear or maybe issue threats to people. Like what the KDF said. In fact, I can tell look at the KDF on the face and tell him, you overstepped. Or otherwise, if you really wanted to come and talk about matters of the state, then you would have told us that we are in the military state. That is the only time we want to listen to a military personnel or maybe a military person. We are not going to listen to a KDF as we speak, because we are in a democratic Republican system where we we submit our powers via an election. We have not submitted our power forcefully under what is called militarian rule. We are in a democratic rule. So their extent of trying to talk, including NIS, by the way, NIS is supposed to be too silent. In fact, the person should not even be seen anywhere. It's the NIS guy. We should not even, because they are supposed to be collecting intelligence. How do you collect intelligence when we see you coming? We know you will speak. How do you get intelligence? That's why I'm telling you, this government might lack even intelligence. Yeah, because that's in fact, that's why when they kidnapped, they ended up even kidnapping a son of a minister in their government, because they didn't have enough intelligence to know that whether who is to be kidnapped and who is not to be kidnapped. So that is the thing. If you find them speaking like that, it means they don't even, that's a simple truth. I expect an NIS person to be very silent, find what to do, feed it to the president, tell the president. Like I believe this time, at least in Central, they did a lot of work. They got some information, they gave the president. But the fact is, they are supposed to remain within their niches. There are some niches you are not supposed to go beyond. If you are supposed to be on particular, like disciplinarian, you are not supposed to come and address a rally. How? How do you address a rally?
All right, hold that thought. We want to take a short break. We'll be back with this conversation.